Continuing to track dangerous Hurricane Dorian, which still is bringing catastrophic winds and life-threatening storm surge to the northern Bahamas as of Monday night. And the reason why it is so bad is because it's stationary. It's not been moving, and we're seeing some of the outer bands of that impact Florida, but it really is the Bahamian islands that we're looking at for the biggest impacts right now. It's eventually going to pick up some northward speed as we look towards late Tuesday. We'll look towards the end of the week, and we could be looking at a possible landfall along the outer banks. It may also just stay offshore. But for our Delmarva beaches, gusty winds, beach erosion, it's going to be possible with an onshore flow. All right, so Hurricane Dorian throughout the day. I've put on a radar loop here so you can see how it has been wobbling, and it really is not moving. Now, as the radar loops through, you're seeing these kind of feeder bands is what we call them, the outer bands of the storm that are pushing on shore from the east. They each bring gusty winds and such, but the core of the strong winds, 45-mile kind of radius across where we end up having those hurricane force winds, those are all right over Grand Bahama Island. Freeport has seen very, very bad storm surge throughout the day. Why is this storm stalled? Okay, so we've been talking about the steering currents, and what happened between the start of the weekend and the end of the holiday weekend is we lost our steering currents. We've still got this big dome of high pressure to the east, but now we've got a little weak dome of high pressure to the west, and you're stuck. Dorian is stuck in between the two of those. So it's in this zone where it's just wobbling in the same location. It's been stationary all Monday evening and all Monday afternoon. Finally, I think as we go into Tuesday, we're going to start to see those weaken a little bit, and a trough coming in from the north is going to kick it up to the north. All right, here's the forecast. Moving stationary as of the 10 o'clock advisory. Winds 140, gusts to 165. Because it's been sitting stationary all day today, a little more interaction with land long term, and also doesn't have as high of a heat content in the waters because the water is shallow. It's not really deep, warm ocean waters it's been dealing with. So all those combined means it's just not quite as high in the wind gust category, but it's still very, very dangerous with the storm surge. So let's talk about the track of this. We head into early Tuesday, still not moving much, but by Tuesday afternoon, we'll start to see a little bit of forward speed. It's going to ride off the coast of Florida, so it's likely not going to actually the eye move onshore, but still they're expecting tropical storm force winds. They could even gust to hurricane force. And you notice as we head into coastal Georgia and South Carolina, Dorian's following the coastline, getting steered up in that direction, very close to the coast as we head into Thursday. And as the storm is moving along, we get into the end of the week, and you notice Norfolk all the way through the Outer Banks in the cone of uncertainty. So we're going to watch this one very closely because there could be some impacts in parts of the mid-Atlantic based on this track of the storm. Now, pretty much all of our spaghetti models do keep the center of the storm off the coast. Some of them bring it on for the Outer Banks, though. Let's talk about the future cast. What does this mean for the mid-Atlantic? Well, let's go through future cast as we head towards the latter half of the week, D.C., and we're going to point to the south and talk about Dorian. So here we are Thursday, it's really Wednesday night, riding up from Georgia to being parallel with the coastline of South Carolina through Charleston up to Myrtle Beach. It is hugging the coast very closely. Now, our European and American models are differing a little bit on the timing, but they're both showing is that the center of Dorian stays well east of us, riding right up along the Outer Banks and then off into the Atlantic. But what we're getting as it's working in that direction is kind of this northeasterly onshore flow. So they will be looking at some higher tides, maybe some small storm surge as we look towards our Delmarva beaches, and then some beach erosion. Now along the beaches, we will be looking at some stronger wind gusts, but here in the mid-Atlantic, look, maybe a few showers as we head into Thursday night and parts of Friday as Dorian is very close to us, but it pulls out of here by the end of Friday, and then it's all about a better looking weekend. Now you're going to see a lot of computer models over the next couple of days predicting what type of wind gusts we're talking about. Well, we're really not going to know until we know exactly where Dorian is heading. Now, if Dorian takes this kind of approach where it's still about 100 miles off the coast, then we're looking at some gusts that could be 50 to 60 miles per hour from Norfolk up to Ocean City. Now, for our southern Maryland counties, we could be looking at some gusts 40 to maybe 45, 50 at the most. That's not a constant wind, but the peak wind gust possibilities. And the D.C. metro, it would just be a breezy day Thursday night into parts of Friday with some gusts 25 to 35 miles per hour. So watching those impacts very closely. Again, Dorian nearly stationary right now. We could be looking at some showers and a breezy finish to the work week as it passes by to our east.